then we capitalize on what we see. Wanna go to Pitville? Come join the Pip Academy and learn the Pip drill. Let's take the trip to Pitville.
Hey, what's going on, you guys? I want to welcome you back to my channel. And in this video, I want to welcome you guys to the very first weekly analysis of 2025. And so this analysis will deal with the week of January 13th through January 17th. All right. So typically when we start off our analysis, for those who are new to the channel, we typically do top-down analysis. And what that means is we'll start from a higher time frame and we'll break it all the way down into its micro form. That way we can break it down to see where we can capture sniper entries. In this video, when we do higher time frames, we look at swing trade opportunities and so on and so forth. All right. So we're going to start with just two pairs today. We're going to start with gold, and we're also going to look at the euro dollar, and we might look at GBPUSD starting off of this very first week. Okay. On this particular chart that we're on currently right now, this is gold. This is xauusd. All right. And we're currently on the weekly time frame. And so a lot of times I like to look at the weekly time frame to see how the market closed from the previous week. And I like to, kind of do an analysis from an OHLC model. And basically what that stands for is open, high, low, close. And for those that are not familiar with this strategy that I use, there'll be a video that pop up here that you guys can go back to kind of look at how I mark up charts or what it means to mark up charts from an OHLC model. Okay. So if we're looking at the previous week, I'll use some of those same zones and things like that, and I'll just copy and paste. And so a lot of times, just to kind of recap on what I'm doing, I like to capture my zones from the wicks and the bodies of that weekly candle. All right. And depending on how big the wick is, which might determine if I'll only use 4 zones or if I'll use 3 zones, and I'll kind of explain what I mean by that. Okay. And so now I'm going to go ahead and remove the old ones. And so basically I like to place my zones according to the low, the open, I'm sorry, this is the close here. This is not, this is close. And then we also have high. And because this is so small, in that particular instance, sometimes I might decrease the zone a little bit just to give me a little bit of room, a little bit of wiggle room to work with. All right. And so that's what I'm looking at. And so basically when I'm looking at this particular model, what will activate me possibly looking at a swing trade opportunity? And let's just say, we see price closed here. Let's say price decides to come down from a 4-hour perspective. You know what? Let me go to the 4-hour time frame so I can explain it a little better. So if we're looking at this, we can see that the market from a 4-hour perspective, it failed to break this high. Okay. And price didn't necessarily close below this mark. But if we get the market to open, come down a little bit, give us a retest, and then show some bearish pressure to the downside, and with some confirmations on lower time frames, of course, then then I'll be looking for sell trades all the way down to this zone, possibly here. Okay. But that takes in consideration of all the other time frames and kind of looking at the whole picture, so to speak. So we don't just haphazardly just take trades just because it broke this zone. There's other factors that we got to take into account. Okay. So let's go ahead and move over to our other time frame. Let me move this down right quick. This is previous OHLC. All right. So I can go ahead and remove this. And so now we're going to start from our daily structure as well. We already have daily markups from the previous week. So I'll just kind of go through this. And so currently right now, the daily time frame is bearish. And what I mean by that is you can see initially we were bullish. It gave higher highs and higher lows. And then we had a change of character, which it broke this low here. We had a retest. We can see it gave us some liquidity in this area because we got relative equal highs. Price broke down a little bit and price is starting to give us another retrace. Now, when you look at this particular model, we can see we had relative equal lows in this area here. price took out that liquidity and now it's coming back to possibly take out this liquidity here. One of the things that we can notice is that we have a daily supply zone up in this area that has not been mitigated. Ultimately, from a daily structure, I'm looking for price to possibly come up, take out this liquidity here, maybe tap into this and then come down and take out this target. Now, all of this might not happen this week, but that's what I'm looking at according to how the market is looking and according to what the data is showing, okay? Now, let's go ahead and drop to the 4-hour time frame so we can break it down from that perspective as well. I'm gonna move the daily for a second. Now, on the 4-hour time frame, we are bullish, okay? We are bullish because we can see that price gave us some bullish pressure here. It changed character, which it broke this low. We had a lower high printed, lower low, and then we changed character again, which closed above this area here. Price came back for a retest. It took some liquidity in this area here. Okay, so if I remove this circle here, I'm gonna go ahead and do that right quick. You can see that price didn't necessarily give us a body closure above this area. It pretty much took liquidity. Hence why we have that, if I put the daily back on, you can see we have relative equal highs in this area here, okay? And so which lets me know that that's some liquidity that's looking to be taken, because right now I'm bullish on the 4-hour. And so this is my target. So I'm looking for price to take out this particular target in this area here. Like I said, it could continue up to this supply zone here or that daily supply zone here, but ultimately from a 4-hour perspective, I'm looking for price to take out these relative equal highs from a liquidity standpoint. Okay, so now that we know our higher time frame perspective, let's look at our middle time frame. If we drop down to our 30-minute time frame, the 30-minute is in accordance with the 4-hour, because we can see that we're bullish on the 30-minute. Higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high. Okay, and so this big wick here, this was from the news from the previous week. This here was NFP that we had last week. So if I put my news events on, you can see this was our NFP candle, which took out a lot of liquidity in this area. So for those that don't understand how to trade news, I have a video on that as well. But price came down, took out liquidity, and then it continued in its intended direction. Okay, so right now, one of the things that I'm possibly looking for is a pullback on the 30-minute. And I would like to see, and this is a Fibonacci tool for those that don't know, I would like to see price come back into this golden area here. This is our discounted area, which is 50% or greater. That's where I'm looking for this retracement to go before price continue to the upside. Okay, so hence when we have these bullish movements like this, these retracements have a certain, calculated movement within this particular leg of structure. So I'm looking for price to possibly come somewhere within this area before it continues up. Okay, and so I'll set an alert in this area that says gold hits M30 golden zone. Now when price hits this area, I'll drop down to possibly the 5-minute or the 1-minute to wait for a change of character on that time frame as well, and a retest to pretty much ride price up. Okay, that's the edge that we look for in the market. That's pretty much my strategy in a nutshell of how I typically trade. I don't chase the market. I wait for price to come to the areas that I designate, and then I set alerts, and then I look for price to perform a particular criteria, and then I enter the market. Okay, I rinse, recycle, and repeat, and that is pretty much my edge in the market whenever I'm trading the market. Okay, all right, you guys, so now we understand where the market is going on gold. Let's go ahead and move over to EU on the euro. This was a trade that I actually took last week, but let me go ahead and remove all of that off the charts. And let's look at this from a holistic perspective as well. Okay. Let's see, 4 hour. Let me remove this one. 4 hour. Okay. Let's move a lot of this over to our 4 hour structure. All right. So now let's go ahead and start off on our weekly time frame. See what the market did from the previous week. So we can see that we've been bearish for quite some time. And one of the things I want you guys to see down here, I can actually make this a little bit bigger. We have a weekly imbalance down here that I'm looking for price to pretty much take out. So if you guys look at this, we have an imbalance that hasn't been mitigated. All right, so I'm looking for price to possibly come down, take this out, and then it can possibly continue in its intended direction. Okay, because right now on the weekly time frame we're bearish, and we can see that we had price to come up, gave us some higher highs and higher lows. We had a change of character that broke this area here. We had a retest, and then price decided to tank. Okay, one of the things that we could possibly see this week is for price to possibly come back into this demand zone that we have here and then continue to the downside. All right, that's one of the things that we could see, but right now we're looking at major bearish pressure on the weekly time frame. Okay, so now what we're going to do, you guys, are we're going to mark up our OHLC model. And so since this is bearish, we're going to mark it up like so. Okay, so this is our high, and our high on every single whatever, if it's bullish or bearish, is always going to be a bearish zone. Okay, and then this here was our open. Our open will always be a bullish zone. Okay, we have our close, because this is a bearish candle. Close will be bearish. And we also have our low. Okay. Now, on our bearish candles only, we have additional zones. Okay. So we have an additional zone here, which will be an additional sell zone. So I'll just put a high here, and I'll just call this additional sell zone. Okay, and then we also have an additional buy zone in this area right here. Okay, additional buy zone. Okay, only on the bearish candles that we have that particular model. So this is what we're looking at. So let's go to the 4 hour to see how the market closed. And so if we're looking at these particular zones, we can see that, you know, price is kind of resting in between these two zones here. We got some indecision here, that price didn't want to close below this area here. So possibly what we could see on the 4 hours for price to come up through this zone, give us a retest, and then price could possibly continue higher into this supply zone here on the 4 hour time frame. Okay, but neither here or there. That's what we have as far as our opportunities on EU. All right, so let's go ahead and move those right quick into our weekly OHLC. All right, and then we're going to move the other ones into the previous, the ones that we're not using, these here. Okay. All right, so now let's look at our daily structure. All right. Now a lot of this I haven't marked it up all the way, so we'll go along with it as we look at this particular pair. So one of the things that we can see on a daily time frame is that we're bearish. Okay, we can see price gave us a lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, and price is coming down in this area here. This is not a confirmed lower low because we didn't have a body closure in this area here. Okay, so right now, I'm sorry, this is not the confirmed lower low here. So right now, what we're looking at is we're waiting for, this is where price kind of broke this area. Price came up to this area, tapped into this supply zone that we had here. Okay, price gave us a descent. Now I'm waiting for a body closure to drop below this area here. Okay, once we get that, we can confirm that this is our next lower high. Okay, let me kind of move this over because it is kind of big. There we go. All right, so that's our daily structure. Let's go ahead and look at our 4 hour. So if we're looking at this from a 4 hour perspective, we can see that our 4 hour aligns perfectly with our daily. Okay. You can see this here. And that's what we're looking at. Okay. So price came down, low, lower high. Lower low, another potential lower high, but it hasn't confirmed because it hasn't broken this level. Okay, so right now we're bearish on our 4 hour as well. And so a couple things that we can see on the 4 hour, we have a bearish, bullish, bearish, which is a continuation pattern, which lets us know that price wants to continue to the downside. Okay, this is a bearish, bullish, bearish order block pattern. And so whenever you see a pattern such as this, price wants to continue down. We can see we had a retest, and then price is giving us some bearish pressure here. Okay, we also have a supply zone up higher as well. In this area here. And then we also have another in this area right here. Okay. 3 unmitigated supply zones. This one could be considered that because we got a nice retest here, but we'll wait and see what price does as the week goes on. Okay, so these are a part of our H4 structure. Now let's go ahead and look at our medium time frame. And so I need to clean up a few things because this is one of the trades that I actually took last week. So I'll move this trade into our phase results. Okay, and now I can move a lot of this stuff in here. Okay, don't need it no more. All right, so one of the things that we can see, last week we had some liquidity in this area here. Price came up, took liquidity, and then it gave us the move, which is hence why I actually took this trade last week. Okay, we can see price came down. Let's go to our 30-minute. We can see price came down, took out the lower liquidity, the sell side liquidity, what we were looking for. And so it's not confirmed yet because the only thing we have is a wick that actually took out this liquidity. So we're waiting for price to give us some candles to close below this area. So right now, this is still our confirmed structure on the 30-minute time frame. One of the things we would like to see when the market opens is for price to close below this area and then give us a pullback 50% or greater within this leg of structure. And then we can possibly look for a move such as this, and then we can take it down. Okay, but right now what we'll do, we'll just be patient. So I'll make sure that this is still activated. That way when price breaks this area, it can alert us and let us know what's going on. Okay, so EU, we don't have a lot going on it right now. We just pretty much need to be patient with what EU is going on. Another thing that we need to look at for this as well, we might get a pullback all the way into this area here because we have relative equal highs in this area, and these are prime targets of liquidity. Okay, so I'm looking for, no, not a check, I'm sorry. Need to confirm that this is liquidity. There we go. So I'm looking for price to come up and possibly take out this liquidity, and then we can continue to the downside. Another thing that we can see as well, we have an unmitigated zone right here, or supply zone, 30-minute, okay? So that's another thing that we can notate as well. We want to see if price will come back into this area once it kind of breaks this area and close below. Okay, so that's pretty much what we're looking at on EU, you guys. All right, so let's go ahead and take a peek at GU just to see exactly what's going on over here. All right, let me remove a lot of these markups, and we're going to take this from scratch as well. Let's start on our weekly time frame to get a grasp on what the market is doing and where it ended last week. So one of the things that we can see from a weekly perspective, GU is bearish, okay? And I say that because we can see, we don't have to go back super extensive because this is the weekly time frame, but we clearly can see that we got higher high, higher low, higher high, and we're into a pullback in this area here. So one of the things that we can notice is that we have a demand zone in this area right here, okay? We have a demand zone right here, which is a weekly demand zone. Okay, we can see price has tapped into this weekly demand zone, and this is a strong low in this area here. So if price breaks below this low, then we'll understand that price, wants to do something slightly different. So understanding that, we can put this here and we can say this is a weekly protected low. All right, and we're going to put that in red. That way we know that this is a protected area. Okay, and it's good to notate that. That way we can understand where we are in the market, and this possibly can be a prime area to catch a really, really good trade to the upside. Okay, so now with that being said, let's go ahead and look at our weekly OHLC models to where we can possibly catch some opportunities for some swing trades as well. Being that this wick is so small, I'm only going to use one zone, which is going to be my low zone in this area here. Okay, but we still do have some additional zones that we can add in there. But this will be the only, I won't add, multiple zones in that area. Okay. This one here, this is going to be my additional zone. Additional sell zone. All right. From there, we have our high. And we have our open. And then let's get our other additional zone in this area right here. Okay. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's the additional. Wait a minute. So down here is going to be a little tough. Okay. Because the wick is so small, so we won't add that there, but we do have an additional sell zone here. So this would have been additional buy zone, but we have a buy here anyway. We get price to close above this, we can just ride it on up because we don't really have too many things down in that area, if that makes sense. All right, so these are our areas for our OHLC model. So if we're looking at this from a 4-hour perspective, we can see we got some rejection down in this area. So like I was saying, on a smaller time frame, I want to see price give us a pullback. Being that we're on this 4-hour time frame, we had this bearish, bullish, price came up and retested it a little bit, but I want to see price come down a little bit, and then we can get price to give us another pullback. Okay, so we'll base that on that 30-minute area that we had. Okay, and then like I said, we possibly can have some swing opportunities to go to take the price up, because like I said, we're really low within this weekly time frame. And so let's look at something right quick. Let's go back to our daily. And I'm curious what we have over in this area. We do have a little imbalance in this area here. Let's check the 4 hour and see. 4 hours, nothing too significant. We have some liquidity taken in this area here. Nothing too significant besides that daily, so we'll wait and see. But this could be a prime real estate that price wants to go back to the upside. And I'm gonna go ahead and lock this zone right here. Okay, so now let's go ahead and remove our OHLC zones. Let's see, what is this? Okay, that's a weekly situation right there. I'll just leave that one up there, that one as well. Weekly structure, I'm gonna say this. These two is gonna go on the weekly structure. Bam. Bam. Okay. There we go. All right, OHLC moved out the way. Let's go to our daily time frame now. So if we're looking at our daily structure, this is what we're looking at. It almost is identical to EU, okay? We can see price came down, price came up, and it came back down. So in this particular instance, we do have a confirmed lower low in this area here. I'm sorry, lower high. So we're looking at it from that perspective. And now because it came up and mitigated this area here, we're looking at this as our next supply zone, okay? And for me, just because it makes sense, I'm gonna move it all the way up. This is our next daily supply zone here. And so I can notate where the liquidity was taken on the daily right here, which confirms my daily structure. Okay, so now we understand that. Let's go ahead and move on to our 4 hour structure. So I was looking at our 4 hour zones or our 4 hour structure. One of the things that we can see is price has been pretty much on a bearish run for quite some time, okay? Now this right here from a 4 hour perspective, I don't like the way this looks, so this is not our 4 hour low because price never really gave us a true pullback. It was just a complex pullback on a smaller time framing and gave us a continuation. And so we can see that we have that same bearish, bullish, bearish pattern. However, I'll be looking for price to take this out and continue a little bit higher because we got a lot of imbalances, unhealthy price action, and I'm looking for price to come up in that area. Okay, but we're definitely going to mark up the supply zones that we do have on the H4. We have one here, and I don't want to miss any. I want to just pretty much utilize what the market gives us. I don't want to sit there and guess and say, well, I think this. I'm only using the data that the market prints. And so a lot of traders will fall victim to that, you know, because they want to be right. The market don't care about you wanting to be right. The market is going to print what it prints, and you pretty much make your analysis off what the data is giving you. Because pretty much we're pretty much data analyzers, that we analyze data and we come up with a result from the data that's printed. Okay, so this currently right here is our 4 hour structure. And so let's look to the left to see if it took out any liquidity or anything. It didn't, but we actually came down in this area here. Okay. All right, so from a 4 hour perspective, this is what we're looking at on the 4 hour time frame. All right, so now let's look at our medium time frame, and then we can go ahead and wrap this up. I'm going to move this down to our 4 hour structure. Let's look at our medium time frame. Okay, so if we're looking at our 30-minute, one of the things that we can see is we're bearish as well. It's in accordance with our 4 hour. We can see we got lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, and then another lower low. So we can actually move this down to this area here. Okay, and then we got price down here showing rejection. So this is possibly our next area where our low is currently. All right, So we're going to mark up this sell side liquidity that price took out to confirm our structure, which was a 30-minute right here. And so this is the structure that we're looking at. So in this area, one of the things I want to do is I want to set up a Fibonacci retracement. This is our golden zone in this area here, okay? This entire area will be our premium area that we want to see price possibly come back, give us a change of character, and possibly take a sell to the downside. So we're going to say M30 premium, okay? So the ideal is for price to come up here on a smaller time frame, a change of character, retest, and then come down and take out this target. Now, one of the things that we need to be mindful of is we have some news coming up this week. We have CPI news that's coming up. I believe it is on Wednesday. And so one of the things we want to understand as well, we want to take in consideration the other pairs that we've looked at. If you notice with gold, let's look at gold again. If we're looking at gold, we understand gold is bullish right now, okay? From an H4 and a 30-minute perspective. You come over to EU is bearish from a 30-minute, 4-hour perspective. The same holds true with GBPUSD. All right, we got to take that in consideration because they both are US pairs. If we come over here and we look at where our news is, let's go to upcoming news events right here. This is what we have coming up, okay? January 15th, we have CPI, 7:30 Central Time, okay? So when price gets to this area, we might have a lot of volatility. So depending on what's going on, we want to govern ourselves accordingly. And then at the end of this month, we got FOMC at 1 p.m. Central as well. So we're going to have a lot of volatility at that moment as well. So in this area, if price continues to climb the staircase in this area here, we could see a lot of volatility that happens around this area on Wednesday. Okay, so we want to be mindful of that. One thing that I can give you that's a nugget that I've talked about on a video with news trading: news follows daily structures, daily levels. And what I mean by that is I'm going to remove everything right quick and I'll show you guys. This is 30-minute. Okay, I have some support and resistance zones in this area here. Let's go to the daily time frame. I want to show you this, you guys. As you can see, I'll put on our previous news events. We had NFP in this area here. Before NFP, we can see we had a body closure above this daily level. News pretty much pushes price in a direction of the daily time frame. This is probably going to be one of the biggest nuggets I can give you guys. Okay, a lot of people still don't understand how to trade news, but it's going to give you clues and it's going to push you in a direction. We can see we had a body closure above this zone. Okay, if we go on a 4-hour time frame, prior to it broke above, had a retest, and we can see it gave us bullish pressure. But look exactly what this did. It pretty much gave us a huge retest. I'm going to remove this for a minute. Let me go ahead and hide this. All the news did was gave us a retest on that same daily zone. Gave us a retest and price continued in the direction, in its intended direction of where it wanted to go. So news always follows the daily structure, okay? And it follows and it respects daily zones. It's gonna push price in that same direction. Yeah, in the lieu of it, it's gonna take liquidity from retail traders that don't understand that. But if you're on the right side of the trade, let's just say you're coming into the market from a daily perspective and price has already broken this level, 9 times out of 10, news is going to push price in its intended direction. If you can see this here, price broke through this level, gave a retest. News was possibly a retest in this area and pushed it down. Let's go ahead and look at our news. I'm not sure about that. Oh, news was this area here. News pretty much pushed price down in its intended direction. You know, you can see it from this area here. Price came up, pushed it down. You know, we see that price was going in this area, but price pushed price in its intended direction. Okay, news will always do that. So let's govern ourselves accordingly this week with our news events that'll be coming up. Okay, we got CPI coming up this week, which is going to be on Wednesday. So I pray that you guys have a great week. I'll be in tune with the chat. And until then, if you guys have any questions, hit me up in the community chat. I'll see you guys on the next video. I want to thank y'all for rocking, and I'm out.
Then we capitalize on what we see. Wanna go to Pitville? Come join the Pip Academy and learn the Pip drill. Let's take the trip to Pitville.